Hello, everyone. William here from 222 Productions, currently residing in Greensboro, North Carolina, home of the National Ninja League Season 5 World Championship, and it's certainly been a busy day so far. And this time around, I am joined by a man who has reached Stage 3 of American Ninja Warrior and is certainly one of the top competitors of the sport, the Phoenix, Najee Richardson. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. This is super exciting, and it's amazing to see how much the sport has grown, so I'm so excited to be here.
So, have you run yet, by the way?
I have not. I haven't run yet. I did get to referee yesterday. I refereed for the skills, and I was doing the adult Lacheys, and that was super exciting. So I did get to peek over and see the adult course a couple of times.
So what do you think of the course in terms of, it's a very speed course this time around?
Yes. See, I'm a little nervous because I'm not exactly a speedy guy. Usually when I finish a course, it's usually like kind of somewhere in the middle or right down to the wire. So I'm a little worried because I've seen a couple of top athletes go down based off of them just rushing to get through the course or just not having enough time to get through. Kevin Bull being one of them. So I'm a little nervous.
I was commentating the Kevin Bull run. I was heartbroken when that happened. Going to American Ninja Warrior, you during one of the seasons where Stage 2 was very tough, and you were like one of the only 3 people to make it in Season 9 to Stage 3. What makes that cliffhanger so difficult? Because that seems to took out a lot of people over the years.
I think it's just a style of training that a lot of people don't do. Stage 3 is very much about power endurance, and it's not so much about just pure endurance. You need to have the power, and your power needs to be able to last for a really, really long time. A lot of people have amazing grip strength, and they can climb, V6, V7, V8s, and that's great, but they need to have the power to be able to have that explosiveness, which comes from campusing and which comes from like huge Lacheys and things like that. So I think a lot of people just don't have that power endurance. They have the regular endurance, but not the power aspect of it.
And one thing that has been touched about in recent seasons, and one thing that the two of us actually have in common is the fact that you have to run the course while dealing with asthma. As someone who has also been asthmatic his entire life, I can certainly relate to the difficulty that it can bring sometimes. Training-wise, how have you been trying to adjust to compensate for the breathing aspect?
So for me, training has to be a lot more intense than most people to really get out of it what I need to. So what I try and do is handicap myself while I train. I'll either train with a elevation mask on, or I will train with a weight vest. So that way, when I'm training, I feel like there's something holding me back, and that way when I take the weight vest off, then it's like, oh, now I have an advantage. So it's kind of like tricking my mind a little bit. So I just have to find ways of making my training interesting, and because I have asthma, I need to find a way of making it that much harder on myself, so that way when I go to do the competitions, I feel a lot better.
And so one of the things that happened this past season was Baltimore happened. Baltimore certainly happened. I guess the first thing I'll ask is, how much more difficult does the cold make it?
Cold? Oh my God, it's such an annoying factor because you know it's going to be cold, right? You know, like, okay, the temperature is going to drop, but you don't know what that is actually going to do to your body until you're there and you're ready to go. And then not only that, but it messes with the equipment too. It messes with the wall, the work wall, for instance. It makes it cold, which creates a little bit of dew on the wall, things like that. All of these things you have to take into account when you're running a course. The temperature makes a huge difference, and the cold sucks.
As someone who was in the audience that night, it also doesn't help when you're next to a large body of water.
It doesn't help when you're next to a large body of water, and on the other side of you is a volleyball field with sand being thrown up into the air. So it was just all bad. Yeah, Baltimore happened. It was all bad.
And then we had the second night with the Angry Birds. As a ninja, mentally, what does that do to you to see basically almost everyone fail the same spot?
You know what? I think it's perspective. For some people, it can kind of scare them. For me, I actually get excited because it presents a challenge. I love challenges. That's one of my main forms of training. I love figuring out things that seem impossible and then figuring out a way to make it possible. So when I got there, I was super excited. I was like, all right, I'm going to be the one to break through this thing. But at the exact same time, Angry Birds was just so weird because it presented an obstacle that none of us have ever really trained before, which was learning how to make it with a reverse grip. You don't really train that. We haven't seen that on the show before or in many of the competitions in the NNL. So having that just pop up and having to figure out that technique, which was very technical, was just pretty difficult.
And so you also have an extensive gymnast background. I did too, although it's much smaller compared to you. And you'd certainly have made a name for yourself with doing big Lacheys. I believe you have the world record for the largest Lacheys currently. How, in terms of what that does to your body, how much power do you need to exert to do just a ridiculously long Lachez?
The thing is, I know a lot of guys who have more power than I do. It comes from the technique. It comes from, like you said, the gymnastics background, having that technique, knowing the position to put my body in, so I'll be able to, it's physics, right? So if I create a certain amount of power on one side, that's going to transfer onto the other side. And it's knowing just those little inches that I need just to push myself over here to get the amount of distance that I need on the other side. So it's more about the technique that you use and the positions that you put your body in over the amount of power that you have. Because if some of these ninjas, a handful of these ninjas, were able to figure out the technique, I know for a fact they would beat my world record.
So, talking about the show, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that the show, in terms of how it's edited, it seems like the producers really like you. I know they put you as in some of the advertising one year. What does it feel like to be competing on the show? You failed, like, snake crossing your first time around, and then all of a sudden you come back the next year, and the show really puts a spotlight on you specifically.
It's a little bit of, it's all the emotions, honestly. I feel super blessed and fortunate, and I'm so grateful to the producers and the show and just the platform in general. But it's a little scary. I'm from Philly, so I love that underdog type of feel. So when you have a spotlight on you and there's expectation and people are like, he's going to be the one, it's a little jarring, to be completely honest, and it's a little, scary. But at the exact same time, I'm so grateful just for the opportunity and for the faith that the show and that the producers put in me to be a good representation for them. So yeah, it's just a blessing, and I'm super grateful for it.
So touching up on the show again, at the end of your season last year, you had mentioned to Zuri that mentally you weren't all there, unfortunately. Right now, where are you at mentally? Are you better? Are you worse? How are you feeling?
Honestly, well, today I'm a little sick. I'm a little under the weather, but mentally, I think I'm. Yeah, stay away. Mentally, I'm at the top of my game. I haven't felt this good mentally since probably season 9, and that was my best season. So mentally, I feel really, really good. There are some things I was able to figure out in my life that were going on at the time that were kind of holding me back and taking my focus away from Ninja Warrior, and I figured those things out, and I'm good now. So I'm really, really excited for this season, and hopefully for the show season. Preferably they give me a call.
So just to confirm, you did apply.
Yes, I did apply. I did apply this year. Still waiting on that call. So fingers crossed, everyone. Fingers crossed, please.
Well, it's early for the East Coast region, so you should be. I think they like you enough to pick you again.
I never take it for granted. You never know. You never know what's in there. It is a TV show, so I cross my fingers and grit my teeth every single time.
That's a good mentality to have. So I guess one final question. Let's just assume you do get the call. Can you get to the final stage this year?
100%. I have the ability, I have the strength to make it to the final stage. It's just, am I going to have a good night? Are all of the things going to line up? Am I going to get the right amount of sleep? Will I be feeling okay? It's about having that good night, making sure you're focused, making sure you're in the zone all day long. If you can do that, again, a lot of us have the ability and have the strength, the technique to make it all the way to stage 4. It's just, making sure we're on our game at that specific time.
All right, you heard it here first. Najee will be at Stage 4 this year on American Ninja Warrior. And I'd like to thank you very much for being on my channel here today. Thank you. I'd shake your hand, but do the fist bump. There you go. That's safer. And thank you all very much for watching. Make sure you follow Najee on all his social medias. Link in the description down below. And make sure you subscribe for more videos just like this. Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you next time.